Hello and welcome to Edison TV. Today I'm joined by Carl Herberger, Chief Executive Officer at Corero Network Security. Corero are a cybersecurity company listed on both AIM and the OTCQX. The company specializes in real-time automatic distributed denial of service protection for enterprises, service providers, and for hosting environments. Carl, many thanks for
Good
joining
mor
me today.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, Dan. Really pleased to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you in again. Can we start by talking about H1? Can you briefly explain what happened? What drove that marked shift in revenue mix in H1 away from CapEx funded spend towards more OpEx expenditure, and also the increased uptake of your subscription products?
Yeah, sure. Most of it's supposition about how the buying behavior changed. We didn't do any sort of buying research on it, but I would say there's three major things that seems to be coming to light about what shifted our our product mix from 60% OpEx generally and 40% CapEx purchases to what today in the first half was about 71% OpEx and 29% CapEx. I think there's three fundamental things that were driving these behaviors. The first, frankly, was tariffs. The tariffs were if you recall, in the first, especially the first quarter, they loomed large across the world. Still do in many ways, but definitely on this new world of what does this mean to us. And many of our buyers, even though our products were not subject to tariffs, had changed philosophically within their own buying behaviors within their own organizations to move from tangible assets to intangible assets, move uh, ta- from capex often to opex based services if they could. So we had numerous customers that were historical CapEx customers just philosophically changed the way in which they purchased products. It's basically going from I'm going to buy my car in cash to I don't mind buying it with a loan going forward, that kind of concept. The second major change is unbeknownst to us coming into this year, our competitors fundamentally have moved to OpEx models from CapEx models. In fact, one of our competitors no longer offers CapEx whatsoever, and the other one is very, very shy to offer CapEx. So it turns out they were laying the conditions in the marketplace for comparison purchases that were fundamentally OpEx. And then that led to customers wanting to compare us actually apples to apples, peaches to peaches, and often then condition themselves to a a managed service or an OpEx kind of service delivery. And that's just the way that they wanted to purchase, recognizing that the competitors were not going to provide for any other options that are out there in the marketplace. And then third, uh, fundamentally, software has seems to be looming large. And software these days, especially delivered by a vendor, is wanting to be consumed mostly as a service and not as a licensed entity. So our move from hardware to software as a company, our move to providing managed services has moved customers to want to actually consume all things in an OpEx model. So this seems to be a trend that's very, very favorable for us, frankly, Dan. We we want the company to be fundamentally a managed recurring revenue company built on very strong ARR growth. What took us by surprise was how fast that occurred in the first half. And then as you know, and probably I'm probably getting ahead of some of the questions that you have for us. This had some knock-on effect in the current year on the P&L.
Get you. That probably explains why you experienced this shift from CapEx to OpEx maybe a little bit later than some of your peers. Do you will you still offer both models to your customers, both the CapEx model and the platform subscription model?
We will. We believe that it's a fundamental differentiator, or it's becoming a differentiator to be able to offer for those companies that still want to and are interested in CapEx purchases, have that residual capability to do so, whereas some of our competitors now have eschewed that model entirely. I've been asked the question quite a few times, why have some of the biggest competitors that you have in the place completely run away from CapEx? And I think it's fundamentally because of how much the market, especially in the US, especially for tech companies, especially for tech security companies, are measured only by one real factor, and that's the growth of your ARR.
Which was
Um,
25% in H1, right? Which is which
exactly,
is very impressive. Impressive. Do you
exactly.
see that as exceptional growth, or do you expect that going forward?
I would say that we hope to maintain a very handsome amount of ARR growth going forward as we transition through this model. And if we can continue to have this kind of growth, I think that that should be pleasing to everybody, myself included.
Great. And then just turning towards the expansion in platform as a service as a percentage of group revenues. Obviously, that's good news long term, as it makes your revenues inherently more predictable, less volatile. And
Mhm.
is there a medium term target there that you have for growing those recurring revenues as a percentage of your overall sales?
Well, Dan, we reset expectations on the current year revenue, as you know, and we've already listed our growth as up to $21.6 million on annual recurring, up from 17.2. So if at the half we're already up to 21.6, we're looking to exit the year with a very handsome, probably mid 20s um, on ARR. And if you're familiar with our P&L from last year, we entered this year with 24.6 million in total revenue, of which about seven and a half last year was a go get number on mostly CapEx. So, in other words, with not recurring revenue. So, we may have the potential to exit into 2026, essentially having the same number we entered this year with recurring revenue. And, that would be essentially what the kind of target that we're running towards. That would be also indicative that we would continue to maintain this 70-30 mix as we move through 2025. That should provide for an incredible set of future potential for us, because that means if you take a look at our cost structure and our recurring revenue structure, that we will have far more opportunity to be able to please shareholders in 2026 and onwards.
Great. And then let's just turning towards your channels. One of the key strategic initiatives has been to build to leverage your channel
Mhm,
partnerships. And since close, we've seen a flurry of activity in that regard. Some good new
mhm.
business wins. Recent win with Akamai, for example. Can you comment on that and the current momentum within those partnerships?
Yeah, we've had a lot of great positive changes on all of our partners. So we have a federation of partners. We have alliance partners, which we sell through. We mentioned that in the first half, the alliance partnership with Akamai was really not in good shape. It did not meet expectations, not on either side, and needed some work. We have gotten right on that work, manhandled the relationship, made sure that we both went through a mea culpa scenario, and we're back on track, we feel. In fact, so much so that we actually already have communicated out to the marketplace a very nice joint deal together that had a lot of firsts to it. The first foundational business that we did together in Europe. It was the first deal that we did together with a commercial bank. And if you're familiar, commercial banks are often pack animals when it comes to buying behavior. We took out an incumbent, so it was a takeout relationship. In addition, it was the first deal that we both did, to my knowledge, under the new European uh, digital resiliency, operational resiliency act, or DORA. And this DORA act requires European critical companies, um, critical infrastructure companies, of what they call them, to make sure that they are tending to the resiliency, the availability of their businesses with protections from cyber attacks. This is where Carrera really steps up because we are an obvious choice to be able to solve DORA questions on critical infrastructure. So that was a great example of partners. We've made a lot of news with new partners in Singapore, in Mexico, in Pakistan, around the world, essentially, Dan, with new partners. And we have had an ever increasing energetic flow in the field from our direct sellers and our partners, with a great degree of confidence, giving us that the back half of the year will be very good.
Excellent. So I guess what's left of Q3, Q4, you're seeing activity levels positive in that regard. Are there any new partners? Would you be looking to add additional partners to the mix as well?
We're for sure. We're adding on the reseller side for our direct sellers, as we continue to put salience around the world for selling hubs. We always need those hubs to be supported by local partners for culture, for language, for support, for integration. So we'll continue to have partner news that is being made throughout the year. There's another piece with news that we'll be doing with partners is more ability to actually have OEM partners, partners that will carry our portfolio moving forward. So you'll see some of that. And then one of the things that we're most proud about is that we've been able to innovate strongly throughout the last year, and you'll see more innovation news on product as we exit this year.
Well,
It's
I was
already
going to mention, you've added a new core product and a new
Mhm.
web application firewall as well. Can you comment on those and
Yeah.
specifically how that changes the dynamic with your enterprise customers and tier one service providers and so on?
It's easy to look at Corero as just something as a company that you are familiar with, and maybe you think in your head, yeah, I've got this story wrapped up. But if you really look under the covers, the Corero story is really evolving to a situation that we are now participating in addressable markets that we never did, and in some pretty decent rates. So, as you mentioned, we came out to the market with a web application firewall product that we sold already in the first half, $1.5 million to a company called TierPoint. That's a very large amount of money for the very first couple of sales that we did with web application firewalls, and it indicates that we have something extremely special in the marketplace. We also sold something called Zero Trust Access Control, an anti-bot, anti-credential stuffing product that cohabitates with our DDoS solution. And we sold that in the first half to an enterprise customer called Cooper Health Systems. This is an egregious set of new threat vectors that we have increased protections on, and that's not in traditional DDoS. So that's the wonderful part about it. It's an adjacent product in an adjacent market that still deals with availability, and we brought that to market. And we're continuing to gain momentum on those products as we move in the second half, and we're increasing our innovation. You'll see more new products coming on out, and we think that our portfolio will be based around DDoS, but these adjacent products will keep us in the DDoS game faster and longer and more relevant, and but we'll also be able to sell to the sides. So let me give you one example on that, Dan. In the past, a lot of companies have been able to box Carrero out of opportunities through requirements during tenders, during RFPs, where they would suggest that we didn't have a feature or so forth and so on. By the end of this year, Carrero not only will have every single feature and feature parity across all products competitors, we believe we'll take absolute industry leading, unique selling positions on features across the board. So we're excited to say that. So the last 15 to 18 months have been breakneck pace on innovation for us.
And what about the industry analysts? So the people like Gartner. I think there's been a new survey from QKS.
Yes,
In terms
exactly.
of comparing your product versus the peers.
Yeah, thank you for that. The industry analyst, that's what you're referencing. The industry analyst, the analyst that actually evaluate how well we solve the problem of DDoS and otherwise. They've recently in July came out, as you probably know, with a full breadth of reviews of all the players in the space. They do it about annually, And for the first time ever, Corero is listed as an industry leader. And what was really powerful about that report for us was that we were the only one of about 20 competitors that was listed as the emerging innovator amongst them all. In other words, they acknowledged that we have something very sexy and hot going on our tech, and that if you really want to be able to get with a company that knows how to do things innovatively, that we are the one to do it with at this moment going forward.
And they're hugely influential as well. So obviously good news.
Yes, that's
Um,
exactly right. Yep.
Turning back towards sales, I mean, direct selling, of course, remains an important part of your
Yeah.
sales strategy. You've doubled your sales team, I think, over the last 18 months or so,
Yeah.
and your sales team's been substantially renewed. Um, are they all up to speed? Are you running at full efficiency with your sales? And do you have more plans to invest in your sales team going forward?
Yeah, the team size seems to be where at this moment where is a very good size. The team performance we think is stepping up now very nicely into expectations. Are you ever complete in something like this? This is a little bit like a journey of one's health or uh, fitness or something like that. That you must be at it every single day, and you must go at it every single day. It's really not a destination; it's a journey, and we're on that journey together. We feel like at no time has the direct selling force ever been more productive, more professionally managed, more efficient, and we think that's only going to increase as time goes on, as they get better and better at knowing how to actually penetrate and execute. So yeah, I think that this back half, we're increasingly confident about the expectations that we have on us, and that's really as a result of our direct selling force.
Carl, many thanks for joining me today. Good to
Right.
see so much movement in so many different areas, sales team, products, channels, and so on.
Same
Thanks for
here.
coming.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much.